Hey there, it's Kimberly here with Knit for Brains, and today we're in my kitchen because we're going to talk about how to block garments once you finish crocheting or knitting them, the proper way to block your garments. So stay tuned. Hey there, it's Kimberly here with Knit for Brains, and again, you are in my kitchen today because we are going to block this baby. So it is finished. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. I'm loving it already. Okay. I'll pull it down a little bit. So as you can see, we finished the cardigan. Okay, I'm going to show you the proper way to block your garments. Blocking is one of these things that's really important, and we're going to talk about that. So basically what it does is when you block a garment, you soak it in really nice hot water, and what that does is it opens up the fibers of the yarn so that it can then relax. As with wool, it'll get a lot softer, but it basically will help to form the garment properly. So that's what we're going to do today. So I've got my garment here. This is my granny square cardigan that I finished. And I'm over here at my sink. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you the way that I block my garments. Okay, so first thing first, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to soak my garment in my sink. This is the biggest basin I could find. So I made sure I cleaned it really well, got all kinds of food scraps and things out of it. I'm going to go ahead and plug it up. Now the secret about blocking garments is, number one, you want to have really hot water, as hot as you can possibly stand it without burning yourself. And you want to use a really good, like a gentle cleanser for delicates, not just a regular detergent. I use Woolite. There's also some other brands that you can use. I've actually ordered some hand washing garments as specific, but it didn't arrive on time and I didn't want to sit and wait. So we're going to go ahead and get started with my Woolite. So I'll just put like a capful in right here into my basin. I'm going to mix in some hot water. I know this is already hot. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to give a little secret ingredient, make it some really nice hot water. So I'm going to take my garment, you're just going to go ahead and stick it in the sink or in your basin. So I'm just really rubbing it around in there, making sure that it gets all of the suds, right? All the Woolite gets in there. And then I just boiled up some hot water in my kettle, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there as well. Okay. So the secret is you really want to have some good hot water so the fibers in your garment are going to start to open up. So this garment's made out of 100% superwash merino wool. So wool is going to open up those fibers, sort of like if you tenderize a meat, okay? And what's going to happen is it's going to start to conform, and then we're going to go ahead and block it and stretch it. But the idea is you want to get it as hot as you can. Ooh, that's really hot. Ooh, that's a little too hot. So I'm going to add a little bit of cold water because I can't even touch that. Okay. You also want to make sure that it's colored fast. Okay. And now there are going to be some garments that you can't block. So you want to look at the label of the yarn that you use to make sure that you can actually block it safely. I'm actually knitting a tunic right now that's made out of linen and paper, and there's no way that you can wet block it. So you want to make sure that whatever it is that you were blocking, that the fabric can take it. Now this is 100% merino wash wool, so I know that it can. And I'm just going to let it soak in here. There we go. And all those fibers to open up. Then we're going to squeeze out all the excess water with this nice towel, and we're going to block it outside. Okay, now that I've let it soak a little bit and I have massaged the fabric, really made sure that I got in there, you know, kind of agitated it just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and drain out my water. Throw in a little bit of cold water just to rinse it. Okay. We're going to squeeze it dry, and then I'm going to put it in this towel over here to finish up the job. I just kind of squeeze out the excess water like so. Move it off to the side. Okay. And I noticed that when I was working with this particular yarn, it was 100% merino wash wool, as I said. It felt a little scratchy and stiff when I was working with it, but I can already feel that it's getting a lot softer. So, like if you're working with an Angora or even a wool or any kind of a natural fiber, what you'll find is that as you block it, as you get it wet, it's what we call blooming, okay? And so what happens is the fiber will literally kind of start opening up, and you'll find that you're going to get a much softer workable garment. So if you have Angora or wool or alpaca or something like that, you're going to find that those fine fibers that make it so soft are really going to start to bloom and open up and become part of your garment. All right, it's about as good as I can get it right now. So I'm going to move it over here to my towel. All right, so now I've got it over here on my towel. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lay it out just so it doesn't back on itself. And I still have some areas that I need to kind of work on here too. I'm going to lay it out nice and flat. And then all you do is you just kind of roll it into your towel, squeezing as you go, getting out as much of that moisture as you can. So I'm laying it out here. And I can already feel, like I said, I can already feel that the fibers are blooming here. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go outside. All right, so I'm set up to do this outside because I'm using a bigger garment, or I'm blocking a bigger garment, so I want a bigger space. The essentials, if you are going to be blocking garments, here's what you need. Some T-pens, right? You can get those on Amazon. Those are also supposed to be coming, and Amazon is late, and usually they never are. But these work really well. These are called knit blockers, okay? This is from Knitter's Pride, and they come in a box like this, so they're all different sizes. So you've got some little small ones here, and then we're going to have some larger sizes. So it's just a nice variety pack. Okay. These are a lot more expensive than your T-pens, so it just really depends on what you want to do. The other thing you're going to need to have is a really good tape measure, because you want to make sure that the garment that you started out with is going to make sure that it's going to be the same size that you end with. And as you block it, you can make it into pretty much anything you want. You can really stretch those fibers and make it a lot bigger. So you really want to make sure that it stays. So you don't want to overstretch or overblock, if you will, your garments, because then you can make them really big and kind of drapey, and that's going to be a problem. And the last thing that you need are these knitter blocks. Now these here I got from Knitter's Pride, and I think these 4 pieces were like $30. These are expensive, and then they just fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. I found these guys at my local Dollar General store, and these were $10 for these really, really large pieces. I think they were $10, and they also fit together. So you don't have to go with the most expensive thing to get the biggest bang for your buck. I'm probably going to need both sets, which is why I brought them both out. But again, check your local dollar store for things like your straight pens, your tape measure, your blocking cards, different things like that. Just make sure that whatever you are putting into your garment, whether it's these knitting blocking pegs or straight pins, that they're stainless steel, so they're not going to rust and leave rust strands on your garment. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out my blocks. I've got my garment right here. Put that over to the side. It's very heavy. Okay. And you know, it doesn't have to be like super pretty. It just has to be enough that your garment has some blocking, some padding that you're laying down, and it has to be a big enough space. So you don't want your sleeves to be hanging down because then they're going to get long and droopy. Okay, I could even take some of these guys and put these over here. That'll work for that space, and this will work for this space. And we just link these guys together. So yeah, these are actually pretty handy. But again, they're a little bit more expensive, so you don't have to go with the most expensive. They're actually about the same width in the foam. So, you know, save yourself some money. Okay, go ahead and put this big one over here, making sure I got plenty of room. It just locks into place. Blocking is one of those things that I'm not a big fan of, just like I'm not a big fan of doing swatches because I'm lazy, let's just face it. But it is really important if you want a really nice finished product. So, as much as I hate it, we're gonna do it because I put a lot of work into this sweater and I really want to make sure that it's gonna be a beautiful finished product. So I'm just gonna lay this out down here. I probably won't need all of this space, but better to have it than not. Okay, there we go. And I just like to have something down underneath of it, just in case, you know, the garment does get a little bit wet. You don't want it to leak onto another surface. All right, so let's roll out our finished product here. Excellent. Okay, this guy we can set aside. All right. And we're gonna lay this out in the way that we want it. Now I can see there's some little areas that we need to fix. That's okay. That is okay. So we're just gonna lay this out here. And the arms, I'm gonna lay them up the side this way. Okay. And I'm gonna try not to double down onto itself. Now to block it, these ones that I purchased over here have some little like markers so you can line up to it. You just want to make sure that you're getting into a straight line. So if you are going to use your blocking pins, you just want to make sure that it's lining up nice and straight. That's all, really. So this is going to go up like so. I don't want my squares to be all taut like this. I want to be in the actual shape that I want the product, the end product to be in. Now, because I like to be transparent on this channel, I'm going to tell you that I'm seeing some areas where my stitches are coming apart. That is a problem. But I'm glad I'm seeing it now. And so what I'm going to do when I finish blocking is I'm going to put little stitch markers so I know where to come back to and make sure that I fasten those off. I think when I was cutting some of the loose strands, I probably cut a little too close. That was my bad. So if you guys can see right here, I'm pulling this triangle up just a little bit and I'm just locking it down in place. Okay, and down here, it's pretty straight. I don't want this end falling over the edge because I don't want it to be draping and making these squares a different shape and these different triangles. So I'm really going to kind of line it up with my blocking like so. And don't feel bad. You've got plenty of these, so use them. Okay. This sleeve's going to come out over here. These squares look nice and neat. Okay. Let's lay the sleeve out here. And then you just take these little, they have the little prongs, and you just stick it right down into the foam. And that holds it in place and gives it that tautness. So see down here, it needs to be a little bit straighter. You can line it up with those guidelines if you want to, but just make sure that it's nice and straight. There we go. There we go. All right, good. Looking good over here. And it's nice and straight over here, I can see. So I just want to make sure it all lines up together. There we go. All right, get you out of the way. All right, so far I'm liking it. Like I said, I'm a little distraught with the areas that I see the holes, but I'll be able to fix those. Just glad I see them now. Now, sometimes the corners will roll up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm going to take one of the smaller pegs. Make sure that that is going to stay really nice and square, just like that. And I'm just going to stick it, hold it in place. And then, you know, you might find yourself kind of readjusting, checking things out, reassigning as it goes along. So my project is definitely blooming, as we call it. All right, here. So there's a nice square. Like I said, I'm going to come back and hit this up with some marking pins so I know where to come back to. And this sleeve is going to double down onto itself. In other words, I'm not really going to be able to lay it out completely flat. You know, there's fabric underneath here, but that's okay. I'm just going to let it do itself, you know, let it air dry out. And we're going to put another little, let's put a small one here. And I can see, I want to make sure that my triangles are lining up nicely. Here and here. There we go. And then I also want to make sure that my sleeves are nice and straight, because as you knit, you'll find a lot of times that your sleeves will curl around on each other, and then you don't really want that. So I didn't used to think that blocking made a huge difference until I did it and realized it makes an absolutely huge difference. All right, that's good, that's good, that's good. And you know, if you're going to be working with like 100% acrylic, you maybe don't have to block it because it's not going to have as much give. Those natural fibers, well, you don't have natural fibers in the acrylic, so it's not going to move around quite as much as you know, like your cottons, your alpacas, your wools, your different things like that. Okay. Those squares in the middle look okay. They look a little taut to me, actually. So I'm going to bring the sleeve in, because this diamond doesn't look right to me. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit. Give it a little bit of love there. There we go. Okay, so you don't have to pull your sleeves out quite as much, as long as you're keeping it straight. All right. I think that about does it. We're going to let this sit out here and, you know, marinate a little bit. Basically in the sunshine or in the nice breeze. Our Southern California. Here's a little bit here. I'm going to pull this side down to match it up with this piece over here. So it's going to pull down just like that. And like I said, you're just going to kind of maybe reassign a little bit, you know, just kind of adjust. This is your time to just really get to know your fabric. See what it's doing. I can see as it's starting to dry that it's wanting to shrink up. So I'm going to hold it down in place. All right. That looks pretty good. Now your tape measure is, if you know, let me sit down here. If you know what your garment is supposed to be, what as far as measurements, then you can use your tape measure and just make sure that it's supposed to be what you originally had it designed for. So I know it was supposed to be 38 inches across, and in fact, it is exactly 38 inches across. Awesome. Okay, you want to make sure that you have a tape measure that is not old, so it doesn't really stretch out, because believe it or not, that can make your measurements kind of subjective. All right, so we're just gonna let this guy sit out here and marry around just a little bit, and I will be back with my complete finished project. Hey there. Well, so that does it. I have officially blocked and finished my, what I'm calling the Hillary Abbott cardigan. Very happy with it, but you know, I gotta step away. This has been a lot of work. The blocking went really well, but as I said, sometimes with blocking, when the fibers, they bloom, this thing kind of gave way. And so the sleeves that were hitting about here are now all the way down to here. And whereas the back was hitting right about at the lower part of my back, like the top of my pants, it's now actually dropped down below. So now it's become a long cardigan. This is what happens when you allow these fabrics to loosen up and fall. But this is what they do. So again, this is my cardigan. I do love it. Here, I'll flip around the back so you can see how it turned out. But you can see how it's really pulled down quite a bit. It is beautiful. I'm liking this very much. The blocking certainly changes it. So like I said, get yourself, if you're going to use any kind of really nice natural fibers, you want to make sure that you're going to take the extra time to do it properly and to block it, because a lot of times you'll find that you can actually change the shape of a square, and you want to make sure everything kind of like all goes together. I did block these squares as I went along with that granny square blocker that you did see. I didn't wet them. I just did a straight up dry blocking. Wetting them probably would have made them a little bit bigger. It wouldn't have changed anything that I did with this, but it would have made it a little bit bigger. So this is the Cool Water Wash. This is Delicate. It's by a company called Eucalan. And this is what I was waiting for with Amazon. Of course, they didn't show up in time, but this is what I was waiting for. And then also these T-pens are really good to have as well. I got these on Amazon. I actually prefer using these blocks just because they have more teeth, they have more grip, so you can get a wider base with it. And then of course the blocking cubes. So those are the things that you need. And then of course a tape measure to make sure that everything is you know, measuring out the way that you want it. But again, this is Kimberly with Knit for Brains. I have finished my cardigan, and it's actually too hot to wear it right now. We're in the middle of a heat advisory. And so I went to put it on, and I just like started breaking out in a sweat. I was like, it's too hot to put on. So this is going to be my winter cardigan, Cal. But I'm very happy with it. Now I think I'm going to move on to something very, very small. Maybe like a flower or something like that. Something other than a garment. And then I'm going to get into blanket weather. But right now, I'm very happy that I have finished this cardigan, Cal. It was a lot of fun. I love the colors. If you have any questions, please comment below. Drop them down in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about blocking, or if you've done it yourself and you have any ideas, something that maybe I did a little bit differently than you, please comment below and let me know your thoughts on that. Again, this is Kimberly with Knit for Brains. Thanks, as always, so much for watching and for hanging in there. This has been my work in progress, my summer cardigan, Cal. I'll bring it this way so you can actually see it here. There we go. It's going to be adorable to wear with jeans, skirts, anything like that. All right. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you soon.